Good morning, everybody, and welcome to ITHive.org's live tech show for Saturday. We're on episode 28, and it's April 7th, 2018. So today I wanted to discuss a little bit about, I hate acronyms, but I'll use it just for brevity sakes, but TOC, which stands for Total Cost of Ownership. Yeah, is it TOC? Yeah, Total Cost of Ownership. So sorry, TCO. My mistake. Being a human, that happens. So TCO, Total Cost of Ownership. What does that mean in relation to your computer? Well, quite simply put, and a lot of people don't understand this. I think if you run a business, I think the big corporations and the big organizations understand what total cost of ownership of a computer is. But smaller businesses or residential clients, I don't think they largely understand that there is a cost of ownership of a computer. Whether you're doing that proactively or doing it reactively, it's going to be there no matter what you do. Okay, so just briefly what this is, and I'll tell you a little bit why I got on this. You know, I think usually my talks on Saturday are driven by my experience in the week, and I've run into this kind of thing before, but you know, it's always a good reminder and to talk about that. So one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they purchase computers is that they think that the purchase of the computer is their only cost, and doubling and making this issue even worse is they don't really know what they're looking for in a computer. They look at the box and, you know, it looks nice, you know, it can turn on and surf the web, right? But there's much more things that you need to look at, what you're going to use that for and whatnot. And I think where a lot of people and businesses fall off the rails is they look at that computer purchase and they try and make that purchase as cheap as possible. Well, I can tell you from firsthand experience, and I see this all the time, that the purchase of inferior or cheap technology will increase your total cost of ownership. Guaranteed. Because the less you invest in the purchase of a computer, right, the more it's going to have issues. It's not going to last as long. It's not going to be compatible, possibly. It's going to be a frustrating experience. It's going to be slow. All those things, right? And, you know, a lot of us are still stuck in that 90s mentality where we thought, you know, we buy a computer and, you know, a year later it's out of date and we have to throw it out. Well, that, you know, and I've said this before on the show, buying a computer today should be treated more like buying a fridge or a stove. You know, it's an investment that, you know, will last you 10 years or so. And it's no true today. It's so true today, right? And I'm, you know, living example of this. I use some computers that are that old, and I maintain them and look after them. They're running fine, and they do the work that they need to do. You know, the only issue you're going to get possibly is that you know, you want to use software and hardware that is supported in some ways. So if we're talking about Apple or Microsoft, right, if those vendors don't support the operating system that you're using, right, then it's time to change that. Either upgrade the operating system or upgrade the machine, whatever makes sense. Okay, so now I was doing some research because I had this question. I said, you know, well, are there any studies that deal with total cost of ownership? And what is total cost of ownership out there? And I ran across an article or study done by Gartner Group. That's what they do. And I'm just looking at it here. It was done in 2008, so it's a little bit dated. But they're talking about, for a business, for a company, total cost of ownership for a computer is roughly about $6,000 for a year. Now, I find that a little high, right? But the one thing that they're pointing out here, and it's worth mentioning, is that cost of almost $6,000 is a computer that's not being looked after and maintained on a regular basis, and not just the computer, but the person using the computer, right? They're not getting the support in a proper way and all that stuff. Now, interesting thing with this is that they say that in circumstances where the ongoing support exists, right, the total cost of ownership actually drops 42%. Okay, so that's for businesses. And that's interesting, and that is exactly why we do what we do, right? Now, I'm going to give you some of our targets and what we're thinking. And this is going to sound a little crazy, but I'm thinking in as a target, and I do this target with my clients, right? The total cost of ownership that I'd like my clients to see would be about $300 a year. And, well, that's a huge difference, right? Now, there are some things I should point out, right? So when they're looking at the corporate example, right, they're looking at all kinds of things like multiple IT staffs, big, so there's a lot more higher expenses, right? And I will admit that in some cases for my customers, the total cost of ownership of $300 might not include all the things that the Gartner Group has in there, okay? But still, I want to point this out. This is what we try and achieve, and I think what ITHive.org is going to start doing, and I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and on the crust of total cost of ownership, I know I have this information available, and it's just a matter of me putting it in a process or a means that I can quickly churn out numbers. But what I want to start publishing here is what my customers' total cost of ownership is on two sides. So on the residential side, what it is, and on the business side, what it is, right? And because I service both clientele, and the rates are the same, right? So what I charge my residential clients is exactly what I charge my business clients. Now, the difference though is that my residential clients typically, their total cost of ownership is lower than my business clients are. And well, why is that? Well, because when you're running a business, right, there is a lot more at stake to running and managing your technology properly, right? So you have to invest a little bit more. There's more activity, more work going on. The issues are a little bit, more real. Now, it's not to, minimize what happens on the residential side, because for a residential customer, sometimes, you invest and you have total cost of ownership to protect more emotional or personal things, right? You use your computer, it becomes, a tool in your life, and it has all kinds of digital information. There's also security issues that everyone, whether you're business or residential, should be concerned about. Then there's, questions, education, all that stuff. It's all there, right? And I guess, the message here that I want to give people is that if you buy a computer and you think that it's not going to cost you anything, well, you're wrong, because it will. There is a cost of ownership. Look it up. Just do some Google searching. I couldn't find any numbers for residential stuff, but I know firsthand that if you just look at simple things like antivirus software, right? Well, you need to buy that and you need to pay for it every year. It's total cost of ownership, right? That is a very easy thing to see, right? And on that point, if you're using free antivirus software, well, big mistake. None of my customers do that. It's why. It's just retarded. So, especially in today's world, right? And, we talked about this before, the bad guys, they're always ahead of the game. And, why take the chance, right? And it's just not worth it one bit. So, so I think we're getting there, and we'll publish this, and the kind of thing that I do, and I know that I'll tell you a little story that happens with all of my new customers. So when I get a new customer on board, whether they're a residential customer or a business client, right off the bat, right, there's always more activity and more support that's needed, right? There's things that are wrong, things that are broken, things that need to be fixed. So they always start off with a higher cost to start, right? And then as time goes on, and I track this for my customers, so I can actually see on an individual basis, on an individual customer basis, I can actually see that as the relationship goes on, their expenses drop down, right? Always, and then flatten out at a level that is appropriate for that circumstances and for the needs of that customer or for that business. And the reason we do this is that we purposely don't try and fit our clients into one program, right? Every single one of our clients has different needs. They have different requirements. The people involved, I might have an organization where the people are very strong technically, right? So their costs are going to drop down lower. I might have an organization or a residential client where their needs and their things that they need are a little higher. So they might need more support, right? But at the end of the day, I work with my client to achieve that leveling of expense. And that in turn ends up to be their total cost of ownership. And, I know firsthand from the experience that I give my customers and the feedback I get from them, that being able to just reach out and get some support when they need it, and not be worried about, all kinds of things, that might happen or might not happen, and just have, somebody in their back corner is so valuable to them, right? They use their computer as a tool, just like you drive your car and then, send it to the mechanic to get fixed. It's no different, right? But that, that's total cost of ownership, right? And I just want to reiterate, you buy technology, right? It's going to come with costs. And if you're not spending any money on a regular basis to maintain your technology, whether especially if you're a business, but also for a residential client, you're making a huge mistake. And at one point in time, this will catch you, right? So, 25 years doing this work, right? And I see this play out over and over and over again. And that's why I want to make the point, right? And coupled with that, right? And just like I talked at the start of this, right? your total cost of ownership will always be there. But if you purchase cheap or inferior technology, right, your cost of ownership is going to be higher, right? There's just no other way, right? Or if you buy technology that doesn't fit the need that you're trying to get out of it, right, that can also increase your cost of ownership. So it's all very, very important to realize. So, I will commit to publishing the total cost of ownership that my clients, my residential clients, and my business clients experience on average. And we'll keep posting that. I'm not sure how frequently we'll do this. Ideally, I'd like to maybe even do it once a week, but maybe once a month would be enough. And we'll see how that trends out. And I think largely what's going to happen is that every time a new client comes in, the overall average might increase, but will always stabilize overall to a fixed number. And I think this would be good for potential customers coming in, and they can actually see, okay, on average, this guy's supporting these people, then this is what they're getting, and this is what they're paying, right? You're going to come in around that as well. So anyway, that's it. I'm going to try and keep it 15 minutes. We're a little bit over today, and I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend. Spring is coming. I know it's coming. Might not seem like it, but it's coming. And we will talk to you all next Saturday. Episode 29. Wow, it's building. So I'm glad you took the time. And again, like always, if you have questions, comments, any kind of thoughts, anything you'd like to see discussed, or if you want to participate live, 10 o'clock every Saturday morning, Eastern Standard Time, this is what we do. Okay? We will see you all next week. All right. Have a good one. Bye.